Alright everyone, welcome back again to more Tsukihime. Now let's get to it. Alright guys, welcome back. We now have free reign over the next choice, because before I couldn't pick number 2, which is I can't turn my back on her, and now I can. So let's see what happens.
お願いだから逆らわないで。私にあなたを殺させないで。
She's let her guard down. The armor of her perfection is cracking. I can hear the desperation in her voice. But that's all the more reason not to agree. I can't let her do this. Not because I resent her for it, but because she's making a critical mistake.
シキ、それとも私のことは嫌い？
She gazes earnestly into my eyes. Pinned underneath her, all I can do is stare back. Fiercely enough to set my mind aflame. At what, until now, I couldn't, was trying not to see. A snapping sound echoes deep within my head. This time, it's not the sound of my skull fracturing, but my brain itself ripping apart. I stare at her as though this were the last moment of quiet left in the world. Her entire form is too much to take in. Instead, I hone my gaze on a single point, there, at the weak, vulnerable midpoint between the heart and mind.
アルクエイドのことは嫌いじゃない。
本当？
Her eyes widen with delight. To her, my words surely shone brighter than the brightest star. But I'm sorry, Arcade. My confession meant nothing. An admission of love under the threat of death won't bring you the happiness you seek. Once a moonlit flower smiled at me with the night at her back. If my feelings for her are true. My forehead burns. Through the molten slurry that was once my brain. I make out a solitary line of death.
けど、やっぱりお断りだ。俺が惚れてるのはシエルであって、アルクエイドじゃないんだから。
Oh. Arquade's eyes blaze with sudden fury. But before she can act on it. Repeat. My knife traces the line across her throat. A shadow flits above the muted activity of the residential district. The executor races through the city at breakneck speed, tracing a path through its forgotten corners where only the birds hold vigil. Her face is drawn, her breathing ragged. Executor Sia would face down a dead apostle without batting an eyelid, but the trepidation she feels now is far beyond that.
早く、もっと早く。
From roof to roof, she leaps. From building to building, she bounds. She eschews the terrestrial route, barreling through the night sky as the crow flies toward the source of this fearful presence. She only notices the change a few minutes prior. It happened on her way back from the church. As her taxi pulled off the freeway and into Soya, she sensed something irreversible had happened to the young man in her care. The city below is sound asleep. No magecraft or curse suffuses the air. The magical energy in the atmosphere feels broadly ordinary, but a pervasive wrongness shrouds the town nonetheless. She can feel it on her skin. Like a cocoon, like a veil. An unthinkably powerful presence is twisting reality, as though forcing it to conform with some great will. It is said, a true ancestor's thought is the world's command. In the records of the church, she has read of such mystics.
マリオ司祭代行は何を？
In her growing apprehension, she curses her superior. Though she may not trust him, acting Prelate Mario is her only remaining ally, or was, until he went silent. His executors too have made no move. The news that they were retired from duty the previous night has yet to reach her. She hides her churning thoughts beneath a calm veneer. What is happening on this night, she has no way to know. As to who is responsible, however, she has no doubt. To some extent, she expected this. That her mortal enemy might come to claim her life in one last hunt. Channeling her unease into greater speed, she streaks towards the true ancestor at the epicenter of the wrongness. She could reroute to retrieve her seventh holy scripture, but her mind banishes the thought. Every instinct screams that if she employs her usual code efficiency and prioritizes victory over her charge's life, she will lose all she holds dear. So the difference in this one is she doesn't bring her giant piercing weapon. Her magically augmented vision picks out her target. She can still make it. She still has time. But just as the light of hope kindles in her eyes, the hell is that? You! An impossibility bars her way. To the side of a building, it clings, a grotesque silhouette, poised motionless in the face of a concrete wall. Its skin is tough yet supple, like leather or tree bark. Its abdomen is grossly distended. 6 legs sprout from its tumescent gut. A mass of claws, or perhaps fangs, grow from its shoulder, so large they could be a dinosaur's. Its lower body resembles that of a spider. Its upper body is almost human. The 8 eyes that do its face are unmistakably arachnoid, yet strangest of all. A muddled awareness oozes from the aberration, one that is neither murderous nor hostile. So then why the hell did it attack you? Perhaps it is from the shock of the encounter, or simply the monster's grotesque form. But in this moment, CL senses that catastrophe is inevitable. The fight is over within a minute. CL held nothing back in the truest sense. Abandoning her human values, her most foundational principles of war, and even the basic notion of survival, she devoted herself completely to eliminating her foe. In other words, hell-bent on mutual destruction, she fights until both she and her enemy are bloody ruin. The monstrosity bursts apart, or rather fragments, and begins to disintegrate from the outside in. CL's black keys laid its hulking form to waste. 96% of its surface area has been pierced, scorched, blasted off, or otherwise prevented from regenerating. An arm lock tore off its colossal left arm, and a 50-ton bare-knuckled impact to its unprotected breastbone finished it off. Despite its presumable immortality, the sheer extent of the damage left the beast no choice but to retreat. Its fate was sealed the moment CL, a true immortal, capable of unlimited regeneration, drew it into a contest of endurance. CL, however, does not escape unscathed. The creature inflicted no damage to her body, but it leaves her spirit in rags.
今のは一体
Nature could not have birthed such a beast. Some dead apostles find amusement in transfiguring humans with infusions of their blood, but not to that extent. It can only be a parting gift from Roa. Perhaps he spent one of his many lives researching the fusion of humans and animals. Or... oh no, I'm slow. It's the doctor. It has to be the doctor. This has to be her signature thing. A fist seems to close around her heart at the thought. What if? What if she were to plumb the depths of Roa's knowledge? Might she learn to produce similar...
いえ、そんなことより
As blood surges once more through her freshly regenerated body, she reminds herself of her mission. This nameless monstrosity is only a distraction. Her true foe is the most sublime of all destinies. A beautiful beast locked in battle with the one she cherishes most.
お願いトーナ君
The Executor again takes to the air. A world unto itself envelops Soya like a cage. And none know better than she the unimaginable despair it pretends. Suddenly, I'm free. Arcwade slumps on top of me, unmoving. Cutting her line of death must have incapacitated her. I take the opportunity to extract myself from her clutches and back away while I still can. My guy, you better get the hell away from her now. Like way, way away. With her weight off of me, I can finally breathe. My shoulders heave as I try to calm my hammering heart and throbbing brain. I need to run, but first I have to gather my strength. Knowing Arcwade's regenerative ability, she'll get back up and come at me at any second. Arcwade's arms splay wide beneath her own weight. She collapses face first onto the stone pavement, looking for all world like she's sleeping. I freeze as I catch a glimpse of wet scarlet. I expected blood. I know what it means to cut a throat, but I never imagined she would keel over so easily like she was human.
アルクエイド
That isn't the only abnormality. Crimson blood, rich as wine, flows across the ground. The warm, red liquid is both Arcwade's vital essence and a gaping wound in the world itself. Slowly but steadily, the pool swells. It seeps into Arcwade's clothing, staining her ethereal white or gruesome red. I've seen this sight before. This puddle of blood with its dull, wet gleam.
そんなまさかそんな
Did I kill her? I can tell you now, dude, no. I couldn't have. Could I? No way. That's crazy. That's crazy. This isn't like last time. Seeing that line took all I had. And thanks to my vampiric senses, I know with terrifying precision just how vast the gulf between our abilities is. That slash is only meant to slow her down for a second. There's no way it could have killed her. Dude, get the hell away from her, man. Repressing my instinct to run away, I take a step closer, and my breath catches. Where the hell did you repress it? Her arm jerks. With an unnatural lurch, a single arm plants itself on the ground like a spider's spindly limb.
不思議停止したのは首なのにそっちよりはるかに胸が異常を訴えている
She speaks not through words or telepathy, but breath. Through her will fused with the natural world.
痛い痛い好きなのに辛い嬉しい
Okay, she might be a masochist.
熱い苦しいやっぱり大好き
Wow, okay. That's disturbing.
でも手に入らないものはないのと同じ逆だどこにもないから私の手には入らないでも拒絶された比べられたまた無残に殺されたまたまたまたまたなら私も同じことをないないないないあんなやつ初めから存在していない
I hear a sound, like reality creaking under some great strain. It seems to come from afar, yeah, right beside my ear. I know it well. It's the sound of a life torn asunder. So it could only have been the death knell of the world. Warm breath and hot blood spill from her throat. Her arm trembles as she forces herself up.
死って消え
Scarlet pours over the ground in a ceaseless torrent. Her body silently peels itself off the slick stone. Her head rises from the pool of blood. I glimpse her eyes through matted blonde hair. Their sockets are the sunken hollows of a corpse, but in their depths rages crimson fire. Shiki, run like hell now. What in the hell? All around me, pavement, street lamps, buildings. Every human work upon the surface of the earth tumbles towards her. Like wallpaper torn down. Like a coat of paint dissolving. Like the world is being flayed of its skin. All of creation ceded its essence to her grasp. Loftily, she proclaims that which I cannot comprehend. Behold the power of the true ancestors, sensory receptors of the planet itself. This is the marble phantasm, the authority to reshape the world as we see fit. This city is finished. This land is finished. Building and beast shall be transformed, flattened to 2 dimensions, and swallowed. All phenomena converted and contained. Now comes the inner sea of the planet, grown wild and free for leaving man behind. Praise it, fear it, offer your lives to it. Your world now teeters on the brink, and soon it shall invert. Her eyes stare wildly at nothing. Too weak to get up, using one hand, she splashes gracelessly back into the pool of blood. She pushes herself up, slips, flops back down. Every time, a little more red stains her body. Again, she tries. Again, she fails. She almost seems to take pleasure in the pitiful spectacle. I don't want to. I can't move. Arkwright's voice, her person, her will flood unstoppably into my mind. The torrent seizes my frail ego, swamps it, drowns it. The world spins round and round. As I struggle against the vortex, her thoughts enter my brain. Never have I suffered such humiliation. Never have I endured such disgrace. Ah, how delightful. To level this burning rage on Shiki. Oh, it would be marvelous. It would feel wonderful. I would give the world for the pleasure. Ah, such joy. Such joy, such joy. I can't hold back. I won't let go. I can't wait anymore. I want to see it. The moment I tear him limb from limb, crack open his ribcage, pull out his entrails, crush the pleas from his throat, saw open his skull, and paint the ground with his brains.
待っていて。すぐに殺してあげるから。
Arkwright thrashes about in a pool of her own blood, laughing like a woman gone mad. I can't move. This is bad. My soul is frozen from the inside out. Staying here can only mean certain death. I have to get out of this place. Anywhere will do. Anywhere as long as it isn't here. But my legs are frozen stiff. The world has ceased to exist. It's my fault. In form and function, or rather, all function has been stripped away, leaving only shadows behind. The buildings, the people, everything squashed into a flat sheet and peeled off the face of the earth. In the remaining wasteland, only she and I are left standing. She has no intention of stashing me away like the rest. She won't show me that mercy. She singled me out so she can personally tear me apart, The rest she disposed of, tossing it into that hole in the world, leaving me alone in this corpse of a city. Everything I did was pointless. Every aspiration I had, meaningless. I imagined myself the city's savior, only to become its murderer. Even if my legs can move, I have nowhere to run. Do I get it now, I wonder? That I'm gonna die no matter what I do?
遠野くん、何してるんですか？こっちです。
That voice. That voice breaks me free from terror's grasp.
先輩。
いいから早く逃げるんです。彼女の蘇生が終わる前に早く。
As I stare stunned, Ciel grabs me by the arm and leaps high into the air. We fly over the rooftops and land atop a tall building. She hits running and leaps to the next. It's just like the night I soared above the city in Arcwade's arms. The only difference is that this time, I can match my escort stride for stride. Energized by my fight with Arcwade, my transformation, Roa's corruption, is accelerating by the second.
先輩、どうして？
どうしても何も聞きたいのはこっちです。あれほど部屋から出ないでくださいと言ったのに、どうして外でアルクエイドと会ってたんですか？遠野くんの浮気者。
No, no, the brain was going crazy, had to leave, I know, but it definitely wasn't that. Don't we have bigger problem on our hands?
部屋から出たのは謝ります。でも誤解ですから。どうしても耐えられなくて、外に出たらアルクエイドがいて、あいつ自分のものになれとか妙なことを言い出して。
言い訳は後でたっぷりしてもらうにして。
Not excuses, legitimate. Oh my god, you know what, go!
今は急いで。
先輩、前！
A great wall looking for the world like it belongs in a medieval castle suddenly rises before us. With no way to change direction in midair, we're locked into a collision course.
遠野くん、口を閉じて。
Still clutching my arm, Ciel kicks hard against the wall. Her boot clacks harshly on the stone. She redirects her momentum to a sideways wall run, avoiding a direct impact. The world around me may have gone mad, but Ciel seems to be doing her best to give it a run for its money.
先輩、これ何ですか？今のどう見ても城の壁でしたけど。
アルクエイドの空想具現化です。こんな大規模なもの、私も初めて見ました。急ぎます。この規模ではあと数分で街がなくなってしまう。
Shorn of both its surface and insides, the cityscape has become a forest of shadows. Above it, piece by piece, an enormous castle takes form. Ciel and I hurtle through the otherworldly night. I can guess where she's taking us. The school. Perhaps due to Roa's lingering influence, it's managed to escape the hollowing, assailing the rest of the city. We descend 20 meters to touch down in the sports field. It's midnight, so the grounds and buildings are deserted, but the sight is still familiar enough to take comfort in. The rest of the city, however, has been entirely stripped of color. How long can the school hold out? Will it eventually be swallowed by the vortex as well? Do not delude yourself. This refuge will not last. Another ancestor might resist her principle with their own, but my own meager bounded field has no such power. Her phenomenon conversion can stop even time. Or rather, it could not flatten the world without destroying time itself. It has converted the city into a metaphysical object she might store away, leaving only a residue that is one with the planet. This is her power, the godlike authority to revert this planet into its primal days. Only one force in this city can resist its pull. Thanks for the explanation, Roa. Someone else's neural impulses flash behind my eyes. Damn it! I've got enough craziness to deal with out here in the real world. I don't need it in my head too.
遠野くん、どこか怪我を？
いや、大丈夫。背骨がまだきしんでいるけど。 すぐになれます。それより先輩はこれがどういう状況なのか理解できるんですか？
She lets go of my arm and looks back the way we came.
アルクエイド、いえ、見境をなくした神祖の機能が現れたのでしょう。神祖が本気で能力を発現するとき、世界の方が神祖に合わせた環境に切り替わる。この土地は彼女の望む環境になるために一旦更地に戻されたようなものです。残ったのは町の残像だけ。現れている城壁は彼女が作り上げているものでしょう。そして元にあった町は不要な遺物として別の場所にしまわれてしまった。
しまわれた？町ごと生き物全部？
ええ、地表に生きるものは最近に至るまで全て。例外は彼女に異物として弾かれた遠野くんと障壁を張っていた私だけです。文字通り規格外の怪物ですね。このままでは世界が裏返る。そうなってしまったらこの町はもう取り戻せない。星の内海に収納された事象は二度とこちらに戻ってこられなくなりますから。
What Sale's describing is on a scale beyond human comprehension. I don't understand half of it. One thing is clear though. If Arcade isn't stopped, things will get much, much worse.
はい。あの城が完成する前に真相を排除できなければ、この町は消え去ります。
排除？先輩はアルクエイドと戦うんですか？
それ以外に選択肢はないでしょう。いえ、そもそも彼女の方からこちらにやってきます。遠野くんは校舎の中に入っていてください。
Arcade is coming for us, coming for me. But would she really kill me?
違う。それは違う。先輩、怒らないで聞いてください。あいつは本当にいいやつで、さっきのは俺がやりすぎて血迷っているだけで、傷が治って落ち着けば。
No, she won't, you dummy.
無理ですね。その落ち着くまでの時間であなたは殺されていますし、この町も戻らなくなります。そもそも遠野くんの中にはロアがいる。アルクエイドにとって最も不要な吸血鬼を殺すことに戸惑いはないでしょう。今の彼女は血に飢えた吸血鬼と化しています。あなたが知っているアルクエイドには遠野式を殺すまで戻ってはくれないでしょう。
I almost object but bite my tongue. She's right. I reflect on what I've seen tonight. The creature Arcade has become cares only about killing me. Any hope of talking her down died back in the park. Besides, this isn't just my fight anymore. Soya's very existence is hanging in the balance. Arcade only lost control because of what I did to her. I know I shouldn't even consider this, but if I were to let her kill me, both Ciel and my hometown would.
遠野くん。
She just hit me with a perfect flick to the shoulder blade. That actually felt kinda good. Did you hit a pressure point?
おかしなことは考えないように。真祖がああなったのは自業自得ですし、あなたに責任はありません。
I feel like he could have handled his responses to her a lot better than how he delivered it. And then it didn't help that he sliced her neck either.
彼女はいずれ吸血衝動に負けることが確定していた。それが何年か早まってたまたまこの町で起きただけの話です。あれは悪魔の見えざるダイスのようなもの。人間である私たちは巻き込まれた後最善を尽くすしかないんです。
Ciel gazes up at the eastern sky.
でもやっぱりこうなる運命だったのかもですね。遠野くんを守るためには彼女と決着をつけなくちゃいけなかった。彼女が活動しているとそのしもべであるロアの意志も活性化するんです。遠野くんの中のロアを抑えるにはまず彼女を眠らせるか追い返す必要があった。 ですからここで彼女を倒すのは一石二鳥です。
She takes my arm and runs towards the school building.
遠野くんは校舎に待機していてください。彼女と戦うのは私の役割ですから。
Oh, she didn't place any spell guards on the school this time.
待ってください。先輩こそここで隠れていてください。あいつとは俺が蹴りをつけますから。
遠野くん、私怒りますよ。
Sail glares daggers at me. She seems more exhausted than angry, though.
私の体のことは知っているでしょ。私は何があっても死にません。けど遠野くんは別です。確かにあなたの目ならアルクエイドを倒せるかもしれませんが、その前に彼女の爪があなたを殺します。遠野くん言ったじゃないですか、私を幸せにしてくれるって。ならお願いですからこんなところで死なないでください。
でも先輩一人じゃあいつには。
見くびらないでください。私が今まで何体の使徒を仕留めてきたと思っているんですか。こと吸血鬼退治なら私の右に出る者はいないのです。
Sail strikes a confident pose. Funny. In her hands weren't trembling. If her hands weren't trembling, I'm sorry. I'd almost be convinced. She's scared. Even after the dozens of vampires she's killed. But no, all that experience wouldn't allay her fears. If anything, it just put into perspective how much of a threat Arcway truly is. I can't just do nothing. I can't leave her to fend for herself, even if it costs me my life. But before I can tell her as much, she presses a finger to my lips.
その先はそれこそ言っちゃダメです。お願いですから私のわがままを聞いてください。一度ぐらい、本当に一度ぐらい、私だけの意志であなたを守りたいんです。そうしないと私は遠野くんに心から笑顔を向けられなくなっちゃうじゃないですか。
Listen, all I'm hoping for is that in this particular ending we save her. I don't want her to die again. Tears well in her eyes as she speaks.
私がこんなに早く帰ってきたのはダメだったからなんです。遠野くんを助ける手段は教会にはありません。教会にあるものはロアを利用する方針だけで、転生体を助けようとする方法なんてなかったんです。あなたを失わずにロアだけを殺す手段なんてどこにも。
I see. If that's how it has to be, at least she tried. I should have known it would never be that easy.
でもそれはシエル先輩が泣くようなことじゃない。
いいえ、私がもっとしっかりしていれば、ロアを追うことばかり考えず、もっと他の道を探していれば違う可能性だってあったはずなんです。だからもう私にできることはロアの侵食を少しでも遅くすることしかできない。苦しいって遠野くんがどれだけ苦しいのか知っているのに、それでも少しでも長くそばにいてほしいって、そんな自分勝手なことばっかり考えてるんです、私は。
I don't want to watch her cry, so I pull her close where I can't see her tears.
遠野くん。
俺だってできるだけ一緒にいたい。先輩は自分勝手じゃないですよ。自分勝手なのは俺の方なんだから。それに先輩がしつこくロアを追いかけていたから今があるんじゃないですか。全部を取るなんてできない。 こうして先輩と一緒にいられる今の代わりにロアを消す手段を作られても嬉しくない。そんなの全然欲求不満です。
でもそれじゃ。
勘違いしないで。俺ロアなんかに負けるつもりはこれっぽっちもありませんから。
Having bared my heart to CL, I've cooled down enough to remember what Arkwade said. It's a gamble, but I still have one last card to play.
ロアの相手は俺がします。自分のことですからね。けど確かに俺じゃアルクエイドを止められないんで、そっちは任せます。
はい、ありがとうございます。
CL's arm squeezed tight around my waist. I bring my lips to hers as we embrace. But then she hops back like a startled rabbit.
キスはダメですよ。そんなことされたら私嬉しすぎて気が抜けちゃいます。ですから今は抱き合うだけにしておきましょう。
だね。じゃあ少し離れてるけどピンチになったら呼んでください。すぐに駆けつけますから。
はい、信じています。でもその必要はないですよ。本当に今日は切り札があるんです。以前のようにはいきません。希望でも強がりでもなくアルクエイドは倒しきります。だから問題はその後です。アルクエイドが消えればロアは全力であなたの体を支配しに来る。その時私には何もできないけどお願いします。私が戻ってくるまでどうか遠野くんのままでいてください。
Oh, I get it now. See, I might find Arkway daunting, but she doesn't fear her. Her only true fear, it seems, is losing me.
すごいな先輩は。この状況で勝利宣言とかどんだけ自信があるんですか。
笑わないでください。真面目な切実なお話です。
もちろんおかげで安心できました。大丈夫、ロアには負けないって言ったでしょ。俺が勝てないのは先輩だけです。
I send her off with the most confident smile I can muster. With a silent nod, she sets off towards the stairs, then stops as though she suddenly remembered something.
待ってください。
何？忘れ物？
はい、明日になったら街に遊びに行きましょう。乾くんと3人でこの前のやり直しをするんです。
Her smile warms me from the inside. Thank goodness. Our promise really did mean something to her after all.
それじゃあ約束。
It is not a date if Arihiko's with us. I offer her a handshake.
はい、今度はちゃんと守ってくださいね。
Sale's fingers brush against mine. She shakes my hand vigorously, then withdraws.
遠野くんは校舎から出ないように。でも危険だと判断したら校庭か体育館に移動してください。
Her deep blue habit vanishes up the stairs. This time, she's gone for good. From far in the distance, deep within the transfigured city, comes a rumbling tremor. The sound of the air groaning of the world screaming. Toward its heart, she flies to face her foe. The pale vampire princess, a cataclysm giving form. A single living soul races through the ashen cityscape. The ruins around it, bereft of color, serve only to mark where buildings once stood. On the roof of one such massive rock, a literal shell of its former self, she alights. cast aside her habit. The impending battle will serve no humanitarian cause. She will wage all-out war until her foe is eradicated. Her weapon awaits her in its naked form, shining with a dark gleam. Being of the same stuff as Archwade, it did not escape her phenomenon conversion so much as it was naturally unaffected to begin with.
万が一に備えて移動させておいて正解でしたね。仕掛けますよセブン。断罪師への感想を済ませなさい。
In answer, the object begins to mutate. 2 firearms, a gun fitted with a bayonet, a greatsword, a suit of armor, and at last, a siege ballista. Or, is this her armor she had when she fought Blob? 6 different weapons fused into one tangle of metal. This is the true form of the Seventh Holy Scripture, the anti-vampire armament carrier built around the sacrament of Konokanto, the horn of a unicorn.
ブレイズ、ブレイド、ブレイクを補助武装として合成。使用弾頭はコーノカント反応光から劣化ウラン弾に変更。テキストスロットは転生批判文から新薬転式に書き換え。あ、照準は手動形式に。自動では彼女に気づかれる。
Ciel looks down the bulldozed city as she issues her commands. Her target's at a distance of 500 meters in the park where she left her. Oh, so she's still there, I thought. You know what's funny? I thought she was going to chase after them into school again. But, like, you know, it's going to take place here in the castle. Archway is still in the process of regenerating. She is slumped over on the ground, unmoving. Her back appears entirely vulnerable. Any ordinary executive would not hesitate to capitalize on this chance.
まったく、騙し討ちもいいところですね。チャンスと見て仕掛ければ、仕掛けた方が追い詰められる。甘い蜜で誘ってパクリとか、食虫植物ですか。
The slick red mirror on the ground grows ever wider. Archway's transformation is entering its final stage. Ciel knows through bitter experience that this silence is but the calm before the storm.
蘇生中の守りは万全。下手に傷つければ存在規模が跳ね上がって、さらに手に負えなくなる。ここで倒しきるなら、仕掛けるのはまだ早い。
Ciel has served long enough at the burial agency to be considered a veteran executor. While she has never personally fought a fallen true ancestor, that is, one driven mad by vampiric impulses, she has simulated such a battle. The church has clashed with true ancestor royalty several times in the past, and records of their victories still remain. While the documents are centuries old and their relevance to the modern day executor is limited, some principles remain timelessly applicable. Face thy foe in the overwhelming numbers. Establish thy foe's guilt beyond question. Ensure thine arms and men are equal to thy foe. Face thy foe armed with the newest iron. Begin the battle only in civilization's bosom. For better or worse, she currently satisfies around half of those criteria. Alone, she hardly constitutes overwhelming numbers, but at least she is her foe's equal. This is the most important factor to consider when confronting a true ancestor: individual capability. When fighting their own squabbles, humans appoint able leaders to transform unremarkable troops into fighting forces. But such an approach will not work on this oldest and greatest of vampires.
他の代行者を気にする必要はない。ここにいるのは私だけなんですから。
The thought is equal parts liberating and terrifying. With no allies to cover her, the slightest mistake will spell defeat.
それと例の戒めですか。
Within the church's extensive battle record, she found a particularly cryptic footnote, unique in its intent as a warning to the reader. After stabilizing the vessel, ensure it is empty at all costs. She still cannot make heads or tails of it. Even casting her mind back to her memories as Roa, she can find no hint as to what this vessel might be, nor what emptying it might entail.
普通に考えれば魔力を全て使わせろですが
However, for true ancestor royalty, especially Arkwade, purest them all, there is no such thing as running out of magical energy, in which case the statement would resolve to first weaken your foe. Why would so much significance be placed on such obvious advice? But she has no time to dwell on the decrypting scripture.
来た
If Arkwade's phenomenon containment reshapes the world according to her personal desires, she too is reshaped according to the world's desires. The true ancestors are the Earth's own sense of touch. They derive their power from the planet itself, with a capacity equal to the sum of its resources. Thus, to do battle with a true ancestor is to do battle with the very ground on which they stand. Of all these formidable beings, Arkwade Brunstad possesses the highest authority. So long as she retains her connection to the planet, she truly knows no limits. Unlimited magical energy, unlimited physical strength, and powers that only grow in magnitude. Such is the privilege of one who wears the royal name Brunstad. Ordinarily, she would be bound by the dress code dictating her activities as a true ancestor, prohibiting her from bearing her true form. True ancestors are extensions of the Earth itself. Unlike the human race, the notion of using the planet's resources for their own benefit would not, could not, occur to them. When Arkwade goes to battle, she is granted precisely the strength and abilities required to eradicate her foe, and no more. As the planet's avatar, she has a duty to minimize her strain on its reserves. Countless dead apostles and fallen true ancestors have met their deaths at the hands of her singular might. Who could blame them? She outmatched them by definition, empowered by the earth on which they dwelled. To incur her wrath is to face certain death. However, her power has a sole weakness which, if exploited, would decide the battle in CL's favor.
アルクエイドを上回る性能を発揮すればアルクエイドはより性能を向上させる生中な攻撃隙を伺う長期戦になればなるほど彼女は手に負えない怪物になるだから
She must end it with a single strike. Only once Arkwade's physical vessel is stabilized, certain it has the highest combat parameters in the area, should CL rain down overwhelming firepower to wipe her from the face of the earth. Her strategy is simplicity itself. The execution, however, is nearly beyond the realm of human ability.
この領域にいる以上私の力はもう測られている蘇生を終えた時私と第7聖典の合計値を基準に力の上限を変えてくるそれがあなたにとって最大の弱点ですアルクエイド・ブリュンスタット
TL finalizes her battle plans and takes a deep breath. She can envision a clear path to victory. Her task now is to wrest it into being. She must survive the coming gauntlet long enough to lure her enemy into checkmate. To her surprise, she finds herself afraid. She had thought such emotions lost with her mortality. Arkwade, however, could subject her to any number of fates worse than death. If she were to be plunged into that swirling vortex of phenomena, there would be no way back. Sia would be trapped within Arkwade's shadow, powerless to influence the following catastrophe she wreaks upon the world. And she would be forced to watch the vampire devour the man she loves in rabid bloodlust. She can imagine no greater fear, no greater regret. She estimates her chances of victory at less than 30%. If at any point her plans go awry, Arkwade will kill her in an instant.
でも
The executor breathes in a deep and raises her head. Where once she sought death, she now fears it. Not that she has found a reason to carry on.
これが生きるということでした
So she will chew through solid rock if she must.